Hey everybody, welcome back to the Fish Tank. My name is BadAsFish80, and we are going to be watching some 1v1 Minion Masters tournament action. Grand final today, and let me check my notes. We've got dragoN versus Jackk in the grand final of my 1v1 number 22. And I'm not alone. I'm joined by the one, the only, see what I did there? DeathShoottOneyOoney. Welcome, DeathShott. How are you?
Hello. I am good. Looking forward to these replays.
Yes, that's right. We're going to be watching this from the replay. Were you part of this tournament, DeathShott?
I did not. I don't join all of them because it is a lot of coordination with opponents, so I sometimes skip a few just because they're fun, but I like taking a break every once in a while.
Okay, good. Now, everybody's telling me I'm too loud now. God damn it, let me turn you up a little bit. Yes, Anno, you were right. Okay, so this is going to be a winner's bracket final. No, it's not winner's bracket. It's grand final. I am not muted, chat. This is a grand final. This is a best of 5. So this is a dual elimination tournament, like many of mine, which means that dragoN has progressed to the final from the winner's bracket, so he has his second life, and Jackk has progressed to the final from the redemption bracket. Now, of course, dragoN has been very successful in a lot of tournaments recently. Why do you think that is, DeathShott?
We don't get a ton of top players to join the tournaments. We get a few. Like dragoN is obviously one of them, but we get a lot of good players. But you don't see Cat in these tournaments. Weston joins occasionally, but I think that also he knows the meta really well. I think we'll see in the decks he plays that he's been sticking to a specific strategy over the past few months, and I won't go into more details on that to spoil the decks. But it's been working well. And we'll see it tonight, maybe, hopefully.
You mentioned about Cat not joining these. Cat?
Yeah.
I've pestered you. Join them. But also, of course, dragoN did play Cat in the final of the recent DreamHack qualifier, and dragoN came out on top there. Do you think the different rules in that setup helped dragoN in that point of view? Because obviously we don't have any deck submissions in these tournaments here yet, but there was deck submissions in the DreamHack. Do you think that played into dragoN's hands there, or irrelevant?
I didn't watch the grand finals of the DreamHack tournament, but from what I've heard, Cat played the same deck 3 times in a row of one of his submitted decks, and all 3 of those games dragoN won, which turned into a 3-1 because I think Cat won the first game. So it went 3-1. dragoN beat the same deck 3 times. So in that scenario, I think that because of the deck matchups, dragoN came out on top. That's the thing. Since there were deck submissions, he couldn't adjust to what dragoN was doing.
Yeah, I think Cat played Valorian maybe 3 times in that.
Yeah.
But of course, although he has to win with each deck, he doesn't necessarily have to play one deck until he wins with that deck, if you know what I mean. He could have switched it up to something else, but he stuck with it, and ultimately it didn't work out for him.
He only had one other deck available, and I don't know what it was, but I'm guessing he probably knew that it would have done worse.
Okay, well, that was interesting to see, and of course we've got some more DreamHack action coming up soon, and we've got some additional tournaments that we'll make sure you check the description below in the video, because we'll put the information in there. But there's the $1,000 prize pool tournament coming soon. Check out the information for that. Let me just remind myself of the date. Definitely should have that to hand, but let's bring it up in the chat. That's on the 12th of June. Check the details below and get signed up for that. Okay, without any further ado, we're going to get ready to jump into our first match of this best of 5, potential double best of 5. Are you ready to go, DeathShott?
Yeah, I got game 1 loaded in at 0 seconds.
Perfect. Okay, so let's get this show on the road. Okay, here we go. Right. Let's get ready. DeathShott, take us away.
Oh, we're starting? Oh.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I didn't do that very well. Surprise!
Alright. Halloween versus Valorian. Jackk loves Valorian. There's a lot of bridge baddies, which is the top guild right now, who really enjoy Valorian, especially in 1v1, because he synergizes with Empyrean, which has a lot of great bridge control. And dragoN on Halloween. His hand right now, not to my surprise, has Brothers of Light in it. I was sort of expecting that. They're what he's been playing for a while now. They're a pretty strong card compared to the other 10 drops and 9 drops. because of how hard they are to counter, or at least compared to the other counters that the giant minions have.
Yeah, we were discussing in the chat, I think, earlier about what really mana value you get for the Brothers of Light, and I think you were saying it was more like 13 mana's worth of value than 10 manas, so very strong card, even though they did get nerfed a little bit.
And you could also see above Valorian's head that yellow rune, indicating that he only has one Empyrean card in hand. You can tell, just like Apep when he has 5+ cards with the swirling Thanes, you can see that he has one rune, which means he has one Empyrean card in hand. And now he has 2.
The little things. Is that anything is that ever useful, that information?
Yeah, because especially when facing Valorian, if he has a lot of Empyrean cards in starting hand, you know that he's going to have bridge control. And so that could really affect how you play.
Good. Okay. Just make sure I've got the right screen up. Okay, so we got, just to recap, we got dragoN playing Minion, Jackk playing Valorian. dragoN seems to play a lot of Minion brothers. We've definitely seen that a lot in the recent tournaments. Jackk, again from recent tournaments, we've seen he does prefer to play Valorian.
Yeah, right now dragoN has a pretty big lead. His HP, he can lose it here because he's got really good control of the match. I'm guessing he has a mana lead, and he's leading on every other obvious front. Right now we're just playing the simple back and forth. It doesn't look like Jackk has any push potential. I think he's just playing the control game, which we'll see. It depends on how well he defends Brothers. He really wants perk 3, because once he hits perk 3, Valorian's basic attack will shred through the Brothers.
Is it a problem if he's playing the control game and he's behind?
Definitely. Well, the thing about Brothers is you can play a control deck with them, because they don't need as much support as the other Giants do. I don't think so anyways, because they're both medium minions combined into one 10-mana card. And so you don't have to breed a whole bunch of support that you might bring for the other giant minions. You can just play like a regular, more standard deck and then put them in.
This is a huge amount of push coming out. This could be the end of the first game here. Brothers.
I think it is.
That is going to be game number 1. dragoN takes it. His Minion and Brothers just too strong. But Jack's Valorian.
Yeah. First game under 3 minutes.
Are you surprised at how sort of quickly that went?
Yeah, most finals games are usually at least 4 minutes long. It's always just back and forth between players until one of them eventually gets a big lead. But I think that time it was more just of an inability to defend for Jackk. If he had stun lancers, for instance, that would have made it a lot easier. But in the end, Brothers, they just marched through.
Oh yeah, and the thing that we did previously is we've got the decks here for you guys to check, and one of the things that chat's a little confused about is you mentioned about how you can tell how many Empyrean cards Valorian has in his hand. If you look above Valorian, there's some little sort of symbols that light up, and the more symbols there are, the more did I say Valorian cards? The more Empyrean cards he has in his hand. So pay attention to that. If we see Valorian again, have a look, see if you notice it, or if you see him out there on the in the ladder, or play him yourself. Just these little things that give you just potentially a little bit of extra information. Okay.
They actually don't show up until he plays his first card. Even if he has Empyrean cards in hand, until Valorian plays his first card, you won't see any runes. But they are pretty noticeable once you realize that they're there.
Okay. So here we have the decks that the guys played. Hopefully it's set up right. So we can see dragoN played his Minion Brothers. He's got 1, 2, only got 3 spells. How do you feel about only 3 spells in a Milo deck?
He technically has 4 because of his perk 2, and it's you don't need a lot of spells in Minion. If you're playing an all-in strategy, then you probably want more spells because you want to support a certain idea. But in this one, Brothers, they don't need the support that other giant cards have to get to perform well. And so he's just playing the spells that he thinks can effectively answer the minions that could be problematic. Shock Rock is horde removal and potential stun on something just to delay so the Brothers get off their attacks. Fireball, stun answer versus other things, among other things. Arcane Bolt I think is a bit strange because having Arcane Bolt as well as Fireball, I think it's a bit unnecessary. Defensive Chopper is the only thing I can think of. Maybe 5-mana range minions, that's probably it. He wants that so that he can answer the minions like Succubus, Teen Tan, Aimbot, because those ones can be a big problem if you're trying to do a big minion push.
Yeah, just things
And
that
as for
are difficult for the rest of his deck to deal with.
yeah, he couldn't shock rock fireball out of 5 mana minions, but that's a dedication of spells that can be very bad for your deck. And with Jack's deck, he has a lot of bridge control, but that's about it. Jackk is an interesting choice with only one spell. I think he could have gone for something possibly more helpful there. Maybe like Hugger, I think is the most generic choice to replace Jackk there. But overall, he's playing just a long game. I want to get to perk 3 and then control the board Valorian.
So the interesting thing is they both have a 3.3 mana average. And even though dragoN has a 10 mana card in his hand. So that just goes to show that the rest of his deck's pretty cheap. I know that the average is a little offset with the fact that the Arcane Bolt's only 2 mana, but it's really 4 mana. But it just goes to show that even though he's got that 10 mana card, he also has a lot of cheap bridge grabs. And that's how we saw him able to dragoN to get ahead early in the early game, even though Jack's got a lot of control himself.
He technically never needed to play the brothers if that's how the matchup feels like it should go. Because you had a match earlier today where you were facing a deck that had brothers, but they didn't come out until the match was 6 minutes in. He just, sometimes they aren't necessary. Obviously, they weren't necessary in that match. He won in under 3 minutes, but you can put them in your deck, and then as long as your hand doesn't get awkward, you can avoid using them for potential better plays.
Yeah, it's all about using it when appropriate, and as you say, sometimes it's just best to hold stuff, especially if there's like a big counter for what you have and you just want to hold it to make sure you don't get countered. Sorry for kind of starting that last game without giving you a heads up. That was kind of my bad.
It was a short one anyways.
Okay, so let's get set up for game number 2 here. dragoN 1 game up in this best of 5.
Yeah, I got it loaded up.
Okay. Right, let's get it loaded up here and then we're good to go. Okay, we're loading into the game now. I'll give you a countdown. Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go.
All right.
I kind of messed myself up a bit with the start there, but let's try to fix it. Okay, how's the time looking?
Okay. Blood Imps to start with. Those are very strong carried for their mana cost. They're a ton of DPS, and their attack is actually a very strange amount of damage. They do 17 damage. I don't know why they do 17 damage, but it is, it will stack up when they hoard something. It's more than 15, and that 2 damage will matter if you got them all attacking the same unit. Jackk went to a Demon Warrior deck, and I think dragoN predicted that, because he's on a Cursed right now, which means you have a lot of skeletons that'll be able to stall the Demon Warrior, and once he gets to a Cursed Ascension, both Unholy Ground and Breath will be way stronger. He also has Skeleton Crew.
Okay, I kind of messed up the start then and kind of screwed myself over, but I think I managed to catch up, so we're good. Right.
Jackk seems to have Pincer of Dread, which is going to be bad in this match. He can try and use the Fear mechanic to push minions away and stall their attacks, but dragoN doesn't have any minions in his deck that are actually good targets. The closest is maybe Hugger if he wants to stop Curse, but dragoN also has Curse Bearer, so that wouldn't be too great.
Now, one of the things we didn't talk about is the players got to ban some masters. Both players banned Apep, of course, and dragoN banned Milo, and Jackk banned Mordor. So that's why Jack's probably playing this with Diona as opposed to maybe Apep, which would be a little more ideal or stronger.
Yeah, dragoN has a good lead right now. His HP is fine. He doesn't really, I don't think it matters for him that Jackk got healing off from the healing puff there, because he just wants to get to a Cursed Ascension. That's the #1 goal right now. A Cursed X ain't gonna win by being aggressive early game. So healing is fine.
The Blast Monster could be interesting here because Jack's got a lot of small stuff.
Blood Imps are pretty vulnerable to it. He might be able to even reveal traps sometimes, like that crossbow trap.
That Holding Hugger getting some real value though. Every time it's killing one of those... I'm not sure if it was killing it actually, or if its target was dying, but it's...
I think he was getting some kills off there. He's currently at 56 souls for a Cursed Ascension. You only need 70, and then your accursed cards that benefit will be activated.
Yeah, that's very quick.
Not even 3 minutes in, and I think he's going to have it done.
How do you feel about Demon Warrior? We've seen Demon Warrior a lot in some of these finals. Do you think Demon Warrior is still too strong?
Yeah, I think that Demon Warrior is bad for the game because she's a very strong card, and when it comes to control, which as most people know is what I love to play, Demon Warrior is a card that you build your deck around. So having such a strong card that's good in control decks, I think it's sort of very bad for deck variety. But it can lose the aggro, and in this match, dragoN did a very good job predicting what Jackk is going to play. He's now at a Cursed Ascension. Jackk is at what, Demon Warrior 4? So that means that dragoN has beaten Jackk to his late game bonus, and he'll be able to defend the Demon Warriors with that accursed strength.
I know we've seen you play Demon Warrior against a curse before, and Demon Warrior, of course, struggles just hitting these little skeletons over and over again, not really making much headway.
I think Jackk has an even worse deck matchup than I did that one time, because he has Pincer of Dread in here. If he had Blast Crystal, he could clear some Horde, but he can't do that with Pincer. And Grenadier, it's pretty vulnerable to... It's pretty stoppable. If he had Whirly Scrat in here that proved to be more resourceful than Grenadier is, but we'll see what he can do with his answers.
Using the trap plus the Pincer of Dread there to take out the Blast Monster.
It's a big investment because it takes up your spell and your trap. I think that the Crossbow Trap would be best used on either, to be honest, Swarm Clear, but also Blast Mancer. With Pincer of Dread, he doesn't have any good targets, so it is a 4-for-4 trade, but it uses his perk, which could be bad.
Okay, here we see he does not want to get that Demon Warrior fighting against the dragoN, from dragoN's point of view, because that Demon Warrior will start shredding it.
And Holy Ground is just a constant slow spawn of skeletons, so that's just going to keep the Demon Warrior on lockdown.
One of them at least. Here comes the next one. But here we go.
Yes, skeleton on the hand.
He just needs more behind it to clear all these little skeletons, and dragoN knows the Grenadier's the problem there.
Oh, he caught it with the...
I think he got lucky with that.
That was just really bad timing for Jackk.
Looked like the Grenadier spawned into it. It happens.
Alright. They're even on XP, but that's going to change very soon because he has to defend against this huge accursed push. And he's going to try and hold bridges doing it. That's what you have to do. Otherwise, you'll just be drowned out in the late game versus the XP. But I think he's still going to get a disadvantage from this push. And we'll see if he can come back.
See this Demon Warrior just shredding the dragoN there. XP lead now to dragoN. And of course, his deck just gets so much stronger with the Accursed Ascension. And this is a lot of face damage. Yeah,
with just Whirly Scrat or Blast Crystal, we could clear all of this. But he doesn't have either one in his deck, and that's game.
That is game number 2 to dragoN. He goes into a 2-game-0 lead.
That was very well played by dragoN. Definitely a prediction on that deck. He was ready for a Demon Warrior. Either a prediction or it was lucky, and I'm going to say prediction because dragoN knows what he's doing.
Okay. Let's update the decks and then we can check that out. Hey. Jackk game number 2. Right, okay, so these should be the decks that we saw. Anything worth pointing out here? Look how cheap that Demon Warrior deck is.
It's greedy. It's so cheap because it's greedy. He's playing He's playing Blood Imps and Heal Puff, which are the big, well, they're really small cards, but they're the big cards in this deck that make it so cheap. His only spell is Pincer. I don't really like that. I see why he does it, because Pincer can be a counter to Stun Lancers with the Fear mechanic. But in that match we just saw, it was very bad. I think it's unnecessarily cheap. Well, if he's going against another Demon Warrior deck, he'll probably have an advantage, because his deck is 2.3 mana average, and you want to get to Demon Warrior before the other Demon Warrior deck. But in most other matchups, I'd say that this is too weak and too flimsy to defend effectively, and it might put him in a too big of a disadvantage when he's trying to get off his Demon Warrior. Also, his anti-air is somewhat questionable, but Pincer is actually a very strong anti-air card. It's 170 damage, which will take out most air units, and he also does have his crossbow trap for anti-air.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's definitely on the very cheap side of Demon Warrior decks, and it definitely came up against something that was probably his worst nightmare.
You can see though with this deck though that he's trying to make it as cheap as possible. But if you look at the cards, whereas you could have Hugger, you could have Curse Bearer who's 4 mana, he has Hugger who's 2 mana. Blood Imps are a ton of DPS instead of something like Flightless, which are 4 mana, and then Wall instead of something like Warrior. Wall is 2 mana. So he just did, and yeah, then there's also Pincer. Instead of Fireball, he has Pincer, which is cheaper. He just did everything he could in this deck to make it as cheap as possible. but I think that that's sort of unnecessary for a Demon Warrior deck.
Yeah, maybe that's some good feedback to people out there playing these kind of decks. You know, you're going to have that big Demon Warrior, but the Demon Warrior, being the single target unit it does need support. And if you do just throw it out there alone with these cheap units, and we saw a number of times there was a, you know, the clear, even the Grenadier. The Grenadier was helping, but it was easily removed. One of the times was very lucky. But the Demon Warrior without any support is going to be pretty problematic, even if you can get multiple ones out. Okay, is the game stuck? No, the game is not stuck. The game is not on the screen. You don't see the game. Okay. So we are 2-0 to dragoN. If he wins this, he takes the final. If Jackk does...
He could play something daring here. Since he's now 2-0 up, he could try something unexpected. That's what you can do when you have a big lead. Because if you think you can move into something crazy, then you can usually just go for it and maybe catch the opponent off guard.
Yeah, dragoN has the biggest lead possible, the most games in his pocket possible. You know, as you say, he can take a risk. And even if he does end up losing this best of 5, he still has a second best of 5 to fall back on. Okay, so we're almost ready to go into the next game. Are you ready to go?
Yeah, just load it in.
Okay, so you're on 0 seconds?
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. Let's start this one. Oh, I don't have it on 0 seconds, do I? Okay, I can tell you when it's my 0 seconds, though.
Should I pause? Are we good?
No, when it's 0 seconds, I'll tell you.
Okay.
Go!
Alright. Once again, Jackk goes back to Valorian, which is his standard master. I think he's most comfortable on it. And this looks like a mirror matchup from the first game so far.
Okay. Here we go. Cards are on. Okay.
dragoN is definitely playing the same deck. An assassin from Jackk, though, so he's definitely on something different. At least he made adjustments to his first deck. I'm guessing he took out Legionnaires, if I'm throwing out a guess, because it won't do effective in this matchup. And if he was expecting dragoN to go Brothers, then he would have taken it out. Assassin is a decent choice, but it gets one shot by a Brother, so if he wants to use it as a counter character, then he needs to protect it. It is good versus the King Golem, though, and he did keep Legionnaires.
So there are some different rules going around for different tournaments. These ones, my tournaments don't have the rule where if you win with a master, you can't play with them yet.
Yeah,
that's coming in from the next tournament, so stay tuned. Or the tournaments that are currently active, maybe the one that just started.
So in this match, dragoN won't be able to go back to Milloween when that rule gets in place, because he's playing Milloween after winning with her. So in future tournaments, he won't be able to go back to her like this. Of course, Jackk would be able to go back to Valorian because he lost with Valorian, but dragoN would have had to play something different.
Do you feel like this Brothers deck's strong enough to just say, oh, let me just switch it to a different master then?
I think versatile enough would be more accurate. For any other master, well, the thing, he could try it on Diona. Or actually, no, my bad. He could just go to Valorian, because Valorian is the other master you often see Brothers on, because they're Empyrean. So you just build an Empyrean deck on Valorian, then play Brothers, and it could be just as strong as or at least almost as strong, almost as strong. That's debatable, but it could be just as effective as the one on Milloween.
So we see here the Jack's ahead on XP, but here comes the push that's been so damaging every time we've seen it previously. The Brothers, very tanky, can help deal with the ground, small units, and of course we've got the support with the Golem. So here we go, these Brothers are going to start wailing away on face. The Golem's going to get taken out, but the Brothers are doing a lot of damage. We've got a good XP lead for Jackk, but he's got to stay in it from an HP point of view.
He's almost in lethal range, because when you're Milloween, dragoN can almost just throw spells at face. He's below 1000 HP, so perk 2, that can just constantly be put on face, and he also has Fireball and Shock Ruff, which is 210 face damage. So if dragoN gets in one more push, then that means that Jackk can lose this match. See right there?
It's on face already.
Yeah, he's just being greedy for the win.
That's one of the frustrating things playing against Milo with all the spells, and you defend well, but ultimately there's some things you can't defend against. And we all speak about using your HP as a resource, but you've got to be very careful you don't use too much of it in certain scenarios, and especially in a game like this where there's going to be a lot of face damage potential, you've got to be very careful.
Yeah, Jack needs perk 3 as soon as possible, because otherwise he can't effectively defend these pushes, and he can't let arcane missiles go on face like that. If Jack can just throw them on face, and he'll do that every cycle until Jack can just be lethal by all the other spells.
So there we go, spell on face.
Oh, that was such a bad arcane bolt.
Didn't
Just hit a warrior with like 10 HP left.
Yeah, he didn't get what he wanted. But I know, I remember seeing a game between dragoN and yourself where I think you were playing the Demon Warrior and you got control of the game, but he was able to close out the game because of the spells on face. And here, Jack, oh, it looks like he was a bit late trying to block those arcane missiles, maybe not expecting it or just didn't have the mana.
He can't take any more face damage, because he's almost to a point where dragoN can just do double fireball. Once he gets to that point, I'd say he's lost the match, because dragoN can easily spend that mana without losing, but he has now reached perk 3, Jack has, and that's imperative for defense. Look at this Valorian damage on the brothers.
He can't tank this on face, but these brothers are just going to make mincemeat here. But here comes the removal. Warrior, the assassin, doing a good job, and he's down to 279 HP. Fireball on face. The next fireball will kill him.
He does have arcane missiles in his next code, dragoN does.
Here come the arcane missiles. He's got to expect it. He's got to be ready to block it. He does block it, but takes a little bit of face damage. Blocks the majority of it, but that's just more mana that he's having to almost waste.
He can only win with aggression. Only with aggression he can win, and it might be too late.
Yeah, the dragon's just got to cycle to his spells.
One more code and he makes it.
Perk 3 Valorian is very strong, but he's just taken too much damage. There it is! dragoN closes it out by 3 games to 0. He went back to his Minion. Jack went back to his Valorian. And I'm pretty sure, actually, that the Valorian was the same Valorian that he started with. I don't
think so. Assassin was new, right?
I'm pretty sure he had Assassin before. Maybe he just didn't utilize it. Let me just double check, but I'm pretty sure it's the same deck. Because I feel like both of them only gave me 2 decks.
You are correct. It is. I guess I missed that then. Assassin was in game 1. I thought he made a few deck changes, but that was an unfortunate thing for him. It was just a repeat of game 1, which was not what he wanted.
Yeah, and just to recap, dragoN did come from the Redemption Bracket Final. So, sorry, came from the Winners Bracket Final. So, there is no second best of 5 because the second life for Jack has already been used up earlier in this tournament. So that is it.
That Jack did much better. He almost made it, you know? He reached his perk 3. If he just had a couple hundred more HP, he might have won the game.
Yeah. Do you think he could have played more carefully and instead of tanking so much on the face earlier, he could have tanked with units instead and stood a better chance in the late game?
I don't know if he could have won the match, because once dragoN hits his perk 3, the pressure only gets added onto his push, and it depends on if Jack is an XP lead. If he is an XP lead when he gets to his perk 3, then he has a chance. But if he defends with units more, then that just gives dragoN more spell opportunities, because he already has multiple fireball targets with Legionnaires, Assassin, Spear Throwers. Even Lost Legionnaires can be a good target if you're pushing, because you want your aggression to work out. So even if you're spending more mana than they spent on their minions, if your push is damaging, that's all you want. I think he played that third game very well. However, I would have still given it to dragoN in the end, because dragoN, in the late game, he plays it extremely well, and once that Arcane Golem automatically levels up to level 5, that is extremely important in this specific Minion deck with only 3 spells, because he can't really get it to that level just by using his spells. He doesn't have very many. So I think, in a sense, perk 3 is more valuable when you don't have a bunch of spells in your deck, because it just gives you that boost that you can't really get before then.
So if you looked at these decks, you just said, if I said to you, hey, look, these 2 decks are going to be playing against each other, would you just look at them and say, like, 9 times out of the 10 you would expect Minion to win?
Yes, but starting hand RNG though, that could be a big factor. Like if Jack can withstand hand RNG, you know, if he's a better starting hand that can maintain bridge control, that can be important, because all that matters to him is reaching perk 3. That's all he wants.
Yeah, we did see that his bridge control was a lot better in game 3 than it was from game 1. Jack, of course, he was ahead. But, you know, as we've seen before in different scenarios, that ultimately Minion has so many face damage opportunities that
it's a very dangerous balance with spell damage.
Yeah, it's like even if you get yourself into a position where you can stop any kind of additional minion damage to face, there's always going to be the cycle damage from the spells to face, and it's very difficult to play around. And that's why you need to be careful with how much HP you have. You've got to use HP sometimes, you've got to use it as a resource, but if you drop too low, especially in these scenarios, and if you've got no way of healing, and your opponent has a lot of spells, then you can shoot yourself in the foot a little bit.
Even when he was at 1,000 HP, dragoN was throwing spells on face. And it's like, I mean, I kind of feel bad for him, because it's like, when you get to 1,000 HP, you don't feel like you've lost. But when your opponent just starts throwing spells at face, especially when it's a free perk too, it's sort of demoralizing, because you're playing the game pretty well. You still have 1,000 HP, but they're just throwing free spells at your face.
We did see that there was a lot of the arcane missiles did hit face. They later on they started to get blocked, but do you think Jackk could have done a better job blocking them earlier? There's definitely a couple of them. Sorry, say again?
Well, I wasn't watching from Jack's side, so I don't really know what his mono was at the situation. Yeah. However, one moment. I think it depends on how the board control was at the moment, because you can't really dedicate mana to blocking missiles while you're trying to defend. So if he had board control that he had to worry about, dragoN is spending nothing to throw those missiles at face. And if you have to spend like 3 mana to block them, then that just makes it a lot harder for you to defend versus whatever else is going on.
Yeah, it's just another thing you got to think of. You know, you got to keep your eye and keep your control of the board, but you've also got to be ready to block those spells if possible. And he did better later on, but ultimately it was a little bit too late. So dragoN takes the final by 3 games to 0. dragoN is on a bit of a tear in tournaments at the moment, so very well done to him. Very well done to Jackk for getting to the final, and of course big thanks to everyone that took part in the tournaments and everyone that helped behind the scenes, including the one and only Deadshot. One and only. Your name's...
And one thing to note, we will not see dragoN in the next 1v1 tournament, because he just won a lot in the tournaments in a row, and we have a system in place where when you win 2 in a row, you can't join the next one, because these are casual tournaments and we don't want the same person to win every single tournament. So we will see someone other than dragoN in the grand finals for hashtag 1v1 number 23.
Yeah, and we'll have the new conquest rules, so that if you win with a master, you can't continue to play that master. So hopefully that should give additional... It should make it more difficult. You know, if somebody's got one really strong deck, they can't just rely on that. I'm not sure why it's called the Conquest Rule, but I've heard it called the Conquest Rule. But it's nothing to do with Minion Masters Conquest. I think it comes from Hearthstone. But basically it just means that if you've won with a master, you can't play that master again. So apparently that's a thing. So yeah, that concludes the tournament action. Thanks very much for joining us here on Twitch, and if you're on YouTube, thanks so much for checking it out there. Let me tell you about some other tournaments coming up. There's always tournaments in the fish tank. We've got a 1v1 and a 2v2 every month, so check out those. This Sunday is the second qualifier for DreamHack Beyond, so make sure you check that out. That is, of course, a free-to-enter tournament. It's about earning points to qualify for the DreamHack Beyond Grand Final. And that hopefully should be live on the fish tank in its entirety. So make sure you come to Twitch or check out YouTube on that. Deadshot, are you going to be playing in that?
I kind of zoned out there. So I wasn't totally listening, but I'm going to say yes, because I join almost every tournament that comes up.
DreamHack on Sunday.
Yeah, I intend to be in every DreamHack tournament. I might miss one for personal reasons. However, I intend to make it to everyone that I can, especially the next one.
How far did you get in the last one? Remind me.
I got 4th, and then I was taken out by dragoN. In the winner's bracket, I got taken out by Cat, and then the loser's bracket, I got taken out by dragoN.
I see. So he's a bit of your nemesis at the moment.
Indeed. Well, I mean, Cat and dragoN, they're both I'd say they're the 2 players that I have to contest with the most. Laser, I haven't seen Laser for a very long time. For those of you who don't know him, he was also very high in the skill level. He was competing with the very top dogs, but I haven't seen him in a while. I'm guessing he's taking a break from the game.
His name is actually pronounced Lazur.
Zor.
But yeah, a very good player. How are you feeling about that tournament? Do you feel like you can do better than you did 4th, or are you aiming for that kind of finish again?
I'm gonna bring. Oh, I shouldn't talk about my decks. That'd be a bad idea. But
let me just show you on screen here. We got a little sneak peek of Deadshot's decks for the upcoming tournament. Just a joke, little joke.
If I.
Oh, we got some lag. Hold on. We should come back from the lag, I think. Maybe. Hello? Are we back? Hold on, we broke. I think we might be back. Are we back? Hello? Hold on, I think we're okay. Sometimes
All right.
Okay, we're back. Sorry.
Yeah.
We're back. Is everything okay? Refresh if you need to. I think we're okay. Sorry about that. Sometimes it lags when we have these two PCs running at the same time. But yeah, so you're bringing some cool stuff to the next tournament?
Yeah, I'm not going to bring my generic stuff. We'll say it at that. I'm going to try and bring some more experimental stuff for these upcoming tournaments because they have a small prize pool, so to speak. The big one's 500. So I'm going to jump out of my league a little bit, or my comfort zone, and hopefully get some success with some things that are uncommon for what I usually play. And I'm hoping that maybe that'll get me further. We'll see.
The prize pool might be smaller, but it's all about qualifying for the big event. So
yeah,
you need,
and the games are really good anyways.
You still need to take it seriously. Okay, and also, again, all the information will be in the description of the video, so check it out there. But the only other tournament I want to talk about is the upcoming GG Tour stroke Community Gaming stroke Team Mana Frenzy Minion Masters Open #1. This has a $1,000 prize pool. The winner's going to get $350. That is on June the 12th. Deadshot, are you intending to take part in that?
I do. I want to join every single tournament that I can, and especially $1,000 tournaments. You know, it's like the bigger the prize pool, the bigger the competition is how I see it, and I love the tournaments. So I'll be there in every one that I can, including that one.
We look forward to seeing that. That's going to be cast live here on the Fish Tank, of course. That's going to be Saturday, June the 12th. Lots of tournament action in Minion Masters. Big shout out to Sonobi for putting a lot of these tournaments on. Big shout out to everyone getting involved in the community. I really appreciate every single one of you. But Deadshot, thanks so much for joining me today. Any last words you've got to say?
I hope that Brothers of Light get nerfed. I hate them.
That's it. Okay. Well, do you expect them to get nerfed? Because they only just got nerfed recently.
It depends on how they do on ladder, I think. We'll see. I think they should get another nerf from what they do as a big card. I don't think they're going to get one this patch. We'll leave it at that. I think that they might get looked at in the future, but not yet.
Good stuff. Well, we'll keep our eyes out and see what you think. I know you're part of the PTR, so you do have a little glimpse behind the curtain, but try not to spread any information that you're not supposed to share. Guys,
Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to...
No, go out. Go for it. Do your out.
No, if you've got something to say...
Oh, I don't have any. I was just going to make some... I was going to say something stupid and meaningless, Fish. This is your time to shine.
Oh. Well, I was going to say something stupid and meaningless.
Oh, well, that's pretty awesome. So was I. We can just forget about both of them and end this awkward moment then.
Guys, thanks for hanging out. My name's been BadasFish80. I've been joined by Deadshot, and we will see you soon. I will. I don't know about him. He might not come again. Who knows? But I'll see you soon. Fish, signing out.